So in total I had budgeted, in reality I was spent. Hi y'all, welcome to my channel. If you don't know me, I'm Jules. I'm 24 years old living in San Diego, California, and I work a salary 9 to 5. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how much I spent during my European winter vacation. So just for a little background context, my sister currently lives in Germany, so over the holiday time we went to go visit her, like my immediate family, for Christmas and the New Year's. So most of the time we were staying at her house, so luckily we didn't have to pay for accommodation for that, but we did go to a few places outside of Germany, so we did spend a little bit of money doing that. I left on Tuesday the 18th of December and I flew into London where I spent 4 days there, and then from there I went to Germany where my sister is, and I spent the holidays there from the 21st of December to the 1st of January. And then from the 2nd of January to the 5th of January, we went to Switzerland, so that was pretty cool. And then I was back in Germany for a day, and then I flew out on January 7th. So 3 weeks there, but about a week and a half was just staying at my sister's house and just having family time, so that was really nice. And I did vlog my Switzerland trip, so if you want to see that, don't forget to click up here. So let's jump into how much I spent in Europe. So back in June is when I bought my tickets for my flight, and I used credit card points to pay for the flights, and then the remaining amount, so the 153 and 152, was for the taxes I had to pay outside of that. So this was my flight back from Europe, and then this was going to London. I ended up having to change the date of my flight to London to align with my sister, so I had to change the dates, and so I had to pay a $50 change fee. All of these numbers are converted into US dollars, so in pounds and in euros some of this will be a little bit more expensive, but this is the current conversion into US dollars. In total, I only spent $497.80 on flights, which is great. I did have 3 flights. I had another flight through Ryanair, and that was to go from London to Germany. Accommodation, I only spent $150. Where is that? And that was for the hotel in London. I budgeted $600, so obviously this is way lower, and that's because I split the accommodation with my sister, so we were there for 4 days, 3 nights, and so I split the total accommodation cost with my sister. And then, like I said, I stayed with my sister at her house in Germany, so we didn't have to pay for any accommodation there for the week and a half that I was there. And then once we were in Switzerland, we did what was it, 2 nights there? Yeah, 2 nights, and this was like a family trip, and I'm very grateful that my parents actually paid for the cost of the accommodation, kind of as like a Christmas gift, I guess, to us. So I did not have to pay for that accommodation, but if I would have, it would have been around $250. So then my total would have been around $400, but still very cheap. So the flights and the accommodation are the main reason why I spent so little in Europe, which is great because you can go to Europe on, a budget. As long as you're able to use points for your flights and for your accommodations, it will be super inexpensive, obviously, because those are the 2 biggest costs. So fortunately, I was able to bring down the cost of this trip a whole lot because the flights and accommodation were way under budget. Next is transportation. I budgeted $300 and I only spent $196.53. So my flight out of the US was from LA, and I live in San Diego, so I just took the Amtrak train, and then that put me in downtown LA, and then I had to use a shuttle to get to the airport itself, so that was around $46. My bag that I brought onto the train was too big, so I had to pay an extra baggage fee. And then when we were in London, we just took the tube for the most part, and we did a couple of Ubers late at night because we didn't want to take the tube at night. It was relatively cheap public transportation. We took the tube literally almost everywhere, and so spent $14 one day, $8 on one day, $7, and then Ubers were split with my sister, so these are only half of the cost of the Uber, so $23.81, $5.71, $4 for the tube, and then once we were leaving London, we went to Stansted Airport, and so we had to take the train to the airport, and so that was around $30. And then these were things that my sister had paid for, and then I just tracked what she was paying for. Another $6, $11, $14, and $9 on some of the days that she had paid for it, and I just had to pay it back. So overall, a little bit inexpensive. It would have been a little bit more expensive if I was using public transportation in Germany or Switzerland, but luckily my sister has a car in Germany, so we just took our car basically everywhere. We did take the public transportation a couple times to go into like the city centers, but luckily didn't have to pay for that. And then we used the car to go to Switzerland. Didn't have to really pay anything there. Activities, I had budgeted $650 and I spent $362.60. So again, quite a bit under budget by like $300. I'll get into why that's a little bit under budget, because I was planning on spending the whole $650 or like even a little bit more. When I was in London, I wanted to do the Harry Potter tour, so I did that. That was around $150. Went to Winter Wonderland. So that was $7. I wanted to see a play in the West End while I was in London, so I went to see the play Barcelona with Lily Collins, and so I wanted a pretty good seat, and so that was pretty expensive. It was $193.40. Then I paid for a tour guide when I was at Harry Potter World. And then, yeah, that was pretty much it. So I only spent money on activities while I was in London. I did allocate more because we were supposed to go snowmobiling and like tobogganing and skiing and all that when we were in Switzerland, but unfortunately we had all gotten sick during that time. So we still wanted to go. I was like recovering from being sick. Still wanted to go, but we wanted to make it like more chill and just like check out the city, but not do any of like the winter activities. So that's what we did. We only stayed for like 3 days. We just walked around the city of Lucerne and Zurich, which was really nice. It was really pretty. We didn't really do any actual skiing, like actual winter activities, so that's why that's so under budget. That's why that's a little bit lower, but yeah, I did anticipate that to be a bit higher. Shopping slash souvenirs, so I allocated $500 and I actually only spent $28.40. So again, this whole trip was a little bit under budget just because I didn't get to do as much as I wanted since I was sick and like my family was sick, so it was kind of a pretty chill trip. I was going to use basically this whole $500 to do shopping in London because I've heard that like the vintage shops and just shopping for clothes in general in London is like the best. I didn't really have time to actually really look and go shopping because there was like such a little time that I was there. We went to like the Brick Lane Vintage Market and the Portobello Market when we were there, but we didn't really have that much time to actually sift through things and like figure out what we wanted to get. So I didn't end up getting any clothes there, but I do have a trip next month to Australia, so I'm definitely going to take this $500 budget and like allocate it towards my shopping budget in Australia because there's definitely also a lot of clothes I want to get there. So at least hopefully once I do my budget breakdown of Australia, maybe I will have spent quite a bit more money on shopping because I do plan on shopping there. I just got a keychain, which I spelled that wrong, but I got a keychain for my friend, which was only £1. Still need to give to him. I like to keep different currencies from the places I go to just in like a small bill or small coin. And so I took out some money in British pounds and I kept about $5 worth just as like a memento basically, or like a souvenir. I got a coffee cup for my dad since like my parents were paying for like a lot of the trip. I was like, let me get you a coffee cup. So that was 880, and then I also wanted to keep some Swiss francs. That was like a $10 bill and then a $2 it was a 10 Swiss francs bill and a 2 Swiss francs coin. So that ended up with the conversion being around $13. Yeah, but I really didn't do any shopping. No, food and drinks out is where I went way over budget. I spent $747 when I had a budget of $500. I was gone for pretty much exactly 3 weeks, so 21 days. I definitely wanted it to indulge a bit while I was away. I didn't think that I would be spending this much money though. But alas, here we are. I always like get snacks on the plane with me because especially if it's like a very long haul trip, I just need snacks just in case. So I went to 7-Eleven, I got a protein shake. I went to Blank Street Coffee in London. I got food. I went to Gordon Ramsay's restaurant, and this is like half the price. So split between me and my sister is like $58. The conversion rates for the British pounds to the US dollars isn't as strong right now. It's like for one British pound, how do I say this? 1 British pound will be like 75 cents in US dollars. When converting it, let's say you have something that's 20 pounds, it's gonna be 25% more once you factor in the conversion. And then same thing for euros. Luckily it's not as big of a discrepancy, but for every €1, it's like 96 cents in US dollars. When converting things, it was a little bit more expensive in the US dollars. I guess maybe that could also be a reason. I didn't really factor in converting the currencies, but yeah, nonetheless, very expensive. So a lot of these things were like food out, especially in London. And then I did afternoon tea, which was also pretty expensive. It was $87. I did get quite a bit of drinks, so like already that's $100 there for 2 places. I definitely spent a lot of food when I was in London and then kind of like scaled it back once I got to Germany when I was at my sister's house. We got some groceries and so I didn't spend a lot there. Then I covered for some of my family's food. So like here we got some hot cocoa and then here I paid for some of the family's like meals because like I said my parents also did pay for a lot, so me and my sisters tried to pay for stuff here and there where we could. So overall about $250 over budget. And then eSIM, I planned $70. I spent $62.64. I used Airlo for this. It was originally $18, but I had to top up on my gigabytes like twice. And then my data for some reason wasn't working a couple times. My primary cell phone provider, Verizon, charged me for like day passes a couple times, so that's like factored in here. Still under budget what I thought. And then I budgeted $100 for miscellaneous because during my Bali trip, I didn't budget for miscellaneous category, but I definitely should have because I spent in areas that I didn't really factor. But luckily this trip I didn't have to use that budget. So in total I had budgeted $3,270, but in reality I only spent $2,045.39. So I actually saved $1,224.61. Some of this money I'm going to be using to pay off my credit card balances, and then I'm going to be rolling over some of this money into my Australia trip. Like I said, basically all of the shopping money I'm going to roll over into that trip, and then whatever is left I'm just going to roll over into a next trip that I have planned. I don't really have a next trip planned, but I know that there will be one. For example, I want to start saving money for the World Cup in 2026, which I know is like a year and a half away, but I anticipate I'll probably be spending a good chunk of change on that, getting tickets, hotels, things like that. Definitely want to start saving for that, so I guess it's good that I saved a little bit of money, and then that way, like if I go over on my Australia trip, at least, I have this $1,200. I do also save for my trips in advance, so I did anticipate I would be spending around $3,000 on this trip, and so I saved around $3,000 in a high yield savings account. That way I actually have the money, and so I actually have this amount in cash basically. This was a super low European trip, but like I said, I was able to save a lot on flights and accommodation. Look out for my Australia budget breakdown probably around March when I get back and I'm able to sit down and film what I spent, but that is definitely going to be a way bigger budget. I've already spent a couple $1,000 already before even getting there, so definitely will be quite different from this budget as I'm paying for literally everything throughout my trip, but I'm there for a couple weeks. Definitely look out for that. But let me know if this is what you thought I'd be spending. Obviously, some of these categories I wasn't expecting to not spend money on them. Like if we add the $500 and the $300 that I didn't spend on activities and shopping, it would have been closer to $2,800 that I spent. But yeah, let me know what you think of this budget. If you've been to Europe and you've had a similar budget, or categories that maybe I should add in next time. Don't forget to leave a like and share with anyone who might be thinking about going on a trip to Europe anytime soon. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you. Bye.